Check 1, 2, 3, 4. That's clear. All righty.
Here, Mike. There we go.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. A beautiful day in the neighborhood. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? I almost wore a Mr. Rogers sweater today.
So glad you did.
I don't know. I was getting dressed. The lady was getting dressed. She'll be here in a minute. I got his shoes on. Is that what you said? Is that what you said? The guy who wears a visor? The guy who still wears a visor. Rashid N.C. Wyatt is in the house, huh?
I said, I haven't seen those.
Oh, when we travel, the man always wears a. We went all the way to England. We've been to England. We've been to Paris. And he had to find, somewhere we went recently, and he didn't have his visor. I thought he was going to lose it, like on Bailey.
Wow.
Yes, he did have a visor on in England. Yes, he had it on. Remember when we went to the carnival downtown? Rashid, I have pictures of Rashid with a visor. So talking about my loafers is not going to work. It's not going to work with them Ikes on. You need to find some Nikes. Get rid of them Ikes. He got Ikes. Hey, everybody, welcome. As you can tell, it is going to be a poppin' show today. I've got a new author with me to start off the show. I'm going to be talking about the speed cams and everybody's question of, do I get any of my money back? We're going to be talking about that. We'll be talking about what they call the American Rescue Funds. I'm going to talk about that. What is that? See, when you got a lot of people in the studio, they don't know how to act.
Oh, man.
Now, in our new studio, when we get our new studio, it'll be big enough that, you know, it's gonna be big enough.
Nice.
It's going to be nice. Sean, could you get the phone?
Please.
We're live. It is distracting. I tell Mark that all the time. Hey, no, I can't take many things happening at one time, and maybe that's some mental health stuff. I told you every show I'm going to talk about a little bit about mental health. So let me start off by this. My watch, this watch that I really am not thrilled. It tells you stuff, like making you do stuff you don't necessarily want to do.
Yeah.
But one of the things I'm trying to do, because it says breathe.
Yep.
Now, it will monitor your heart rate. I got a little upset about something the other day, and it was like, breathe. And you got to sit there and breathe. Now, the watch is so smart, huh?
You actually do it?
I actually do it. So it says take a breath. Now, not all the time. Sometimes I'm like, don't tell me what to do. You're not my mother. You're not my father. You don't tell me to breathe. Breathe.
You're not the boss of me.
You're not the boss of me. So sometimes I will, but I'm telling you, it is calming. So I am trying to be more calm. I'm trying to be more calm.
That's good.
I've got the chairman of well, you're not here as the chairman of the trustee board, but I'm just going to tell you all this. I don't know where you go to church. I pray you have. I have like terrific trustees and deacons.
Awesome. Yep.
They are not yes people. They have their own mind, but they do the work.
Absolutely.
We have everybody from bankers to teachers to folks who work in other industries. Nobody needs the job in order to feel big. Right. And I've been blessed to have the chairman of trustee board who is with us, but he's here on his own because you are now an author, number one, a billboard master, number two. If you see, I was in the Falls the other day, and I look up and I'm like, is that Rob? And so, I mean, I know one billboard, but it's like billboard after billboard. You were is manager the right word when you left another organization?
Chief program officer.
You were chief program officer,
Yeah.
and left your job
Yes.
and didn't have a job.
And didn't have a job. It was nothing but faith. I was at like a critical point in my life where I was at the plateau. I actually just won like a national staff of the year for
Right.
Boys and Girls of America. And I was just like, something was missing that I just needed to change. I feel like I did not want to be like a CEO of a nonprofit.
Yeah.
I wanted the autonomy to kind of do what I needed to do.
Now, I don't know who leaves their jobs before they have a job. I don't know. I don't know who does that. Oh, Lord.
Wow.
I know they can't see on Facebook what just happened, but Mr. Visor just bumped into our equipment as he was crawling on the floor. Mark's daughter is about to lose it.
Wow.
You trying to get Mrs. Pridgen in? Come on in. Don't bump into the TV. Look, everybody's just walking. It's one of those days. So you decided to leave the job, and you decided that you were going to go out, branch out on your own. Come on. Yeah, come on. Oh, no. My wife don't have to wait. She can. If Sean walked in front of it, Rashid crawled in front of it, she gets to walk. You go out, and what was the game plan?
So behind the scenes, I was studying to get my real estate license, and I was just trying to figure out my next steps. I know I was doing a lot of training before that, so I was doing training around the country. So I kind of knew where I wanted to go with that as far as program training and staff development and leadership. So I kind of knew that piece of it. And so I went with, once I got my real estate license, I was like, okay, I want to do two, because one is real estate was, I learned a lot about, the home ownership and the process, because it was my first time buying a house at that same time. And I wanted to learn that and then also explore my passion. So I just I knew I was like being trapped. I was like, I needed to be that autonomy. I knew I had a lot of ideals and where I wanted to go. So I was like,
Yeah.
I got to move.
So now, what puts food on the table?
Well, I do a lot of consultant work. And so part of that is I do training development for a lot of organizations around the country. And so these last 2 to 3 years, I was kind of behind the scenes doing a lot of freelance work. And so this year, well, actually during COVID, I had like this aha moment where I just needed that passion back of what I wanted to do. And so real estate, I love it, but it wasn't my passion. And so I kind of just seek God for his advice and instruction. And then I was like, okay, he kind of directed me in this life leadership coaching. I actually got my life coaching 2 years ago. So I did pretty much a 6-month course and getting my certificate. And I never really utilized it. And so it was just like the perfect opportunity where I had time to really reflect on where I wanted to go. And so I had a business plan, recreated it, got some, bank support on helping me with marketing and basically just redesign my business. And so that marketing that you see now, just like I really had like a strategic way how I wanted to do it. So rebranding myself, which is how like the billboards came about, is what do you notice Rob Lowry as? He worked at Boys and Girls Club. He's kind of doing real estate, but now rebranding my whole kind of my life in a sense.
Do you feel free now?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's like, for me, the essence of life is that all of these jobs I have, I don't have to do any of them. And I am okay. I always say this. I love pastoring True Bethel. I'm not going to say I love pastoring. I love pastoring True Bethel. Big difference. I love what I do for the people through government, but I don't have to do them. And I think when you're at a point when you're like, if as long as I can eat, as long as I eat, roof over my head, and cable. I tell
good.
people I need cable. I can't live without cable. I got you got to give me Netflix. Then I'm good. And so that's where it seems like you're at in life at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, I think like this whole experience, like God was just showing me things. Like even with this, when we went through the pandemic at first, I was like, how am I going to eat?
Yeah.
And so the funny thing is, like 3 months later, like business, as far as like the Zoom and everything else, like
Yeah.
the virtual trainings, I was like prepared, and I was like, I got actually more business during these last, well, say 8 months with all the virtual trainings and so forth than I got before COVID. So,
Yeah.
which is just a blessing in disguise.
Yeah.
And so it just got me the opportunity to have that freedom that I needed.
Tell me about the book. You have a book in your hand.
Yeah, so 3 years ago, I started actually working on this book, and so I had like a 6-month plan that I was going to write this book, get it out there, and I guess God had a different direction for me. So I worked on it, and so kind of put things aside, things with trying to run a business, and so I kept putting it back and going back. But this was really I was going through this process of like, should I leave Boys and Girls Club? I've been here 15 years. I worked with a lot of kids and families. And I had like this, like, you sort of like how you would feel at
Yeah.
True Bethel. It's just like,
Yeah.
okay, this is so much. I got so much invested in this.
Right.
And I feel like it would be a disservice just to leave it there. And so this book kind of captured my take on running, overseeing programs from the federal level, from the state level on mentoring programs. And so it gave me kind of like a hands-on, pretty much this talks about my personal life. As far as when I started writing this book, I went with the aspect of not believing I had mentors in my life. And so maybe that was the reason why I wanted to help other young people to be pretty much a support system to their lives. And so as I was writing this book, I was like, there was my fourth grade teacher who really took this quiet boy and said, hey, I want you to do this. I want you to do this. And so it kind of inspired me to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher for most of my life. And so when I went to college, I wanted to be a teacher. And then I had a guidance counselor in 10th or 9th grade that said, I want you to go to this historical black college fair. And at the time I was making, having 65 average. I didn't have no desire to go to college. And that was the first time in my life where I seen people that looked like me
Yeah.
talking the talk and saying, hey, this is what we want to do in life. And so I remember going home that day and it's like, yo, this is for me.
Yeah.
So that kind of just opened up, pretty much my opportunities. And so as I started to reflect on that process, like I actually had informal mentors in my life that kind of poured into me. And then I started doing that as well. So one story I want to share is that when I started working at Boys and Girls Club, this young boy, I was working with him. He was first on my caseload. And he told me that he would carry a gun to the club. This is on Bailey and Genesee. He carried a gun to the club every day, hide it in the bush, and then he walked into the clubhouse. And so about 3 days, didn't show up to the club, and I was like kind of worried. I was like, I got so much stuff going on. Let me stop by his house. I stopped by his house, and during that moment, he kind of shared with me is when his mother would get drunk at night, if he got in the house late, he basically was locked out of the house the entire night. And so he would have to sleep on the back porch. And those nights, he wasn't able to obviously go to school the next day. It kind of was a trickle-down effect. He didn't eat and so forth. And so that moment kind of took a job into a passion. Like, this is why you need to be in it. It made me understand, even when kids go to school, you just want them to pass the test. You want them to do what you want them to do. And they got so much that they're carrying on just to make it to school. You don't understand what they have to go through.
Yeah.
And so it made me change my perspective on how I work with young people and even my staff. And so over the years, I was able to oversee 120 staff over at Boys and Girls Clubs. And so that just in itself and my passion to be able to work with kids, staff, and families is just tremendous experience.
Yeah, what's tremendous is that supervising 120 people and then you walk out the door. That's what is amazing. So let me ask you this as we kind of wrap up. So people can get in touch with you for your business to do what? To do life coach?
Yeah, so I do transformation life coach. Really, I don't give you the cookie cutter stuff. It's really just digging in deeper of who you are, where you're trying to be, and giving you not just what you want to hear, but diving deeper inside what's keeping you from getting the life you're trying to getting you to the point of what you want out of your life.
That's
and
deep.
giving you the answers within yourself, me not giving you advice.
And people pay you.
Yes.
Seems like if they got the money to pay you, they already know where they at. They got a job. But people pay you, and then you also deal with organizations, not for profits,
Yes.
and for profits.
Yes.
In training staff and
Training staff, helping them with leadership development and also youth development.
So where can a person get in touch with you?
You can touch with me at www.rlexperience.com.
And so they go right to the website.
Yep.
Information is on the website.
Yes.
Is that where they also get the book that
Get
is
the
named?
book. Yep, Effective Mentoring: A Comprehensive Guide to Being a Better Mentor. So
Yeah.
they can get the book is on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, or you can go to my website at rlexperience.com.
I'm a horrible mentor. Let me tell
You're
you.
a great
this.
mentor. You're a great mentor.
No. I'm like your teacher. You know, I'm like the mentor in the background.
Yeah.
But I tend to, because a lot of people don't believe this, I'm very shy.
Mm-hmm.
So I do what I do for a living, as a living. This is what I do. This is what I enjoy. But Monique will tell you, when I'm done at the end of the day, I don't socialize a lot.
Sound like me.
Barely just family, right?
Sound like me,
Few. I've been around the same people all of my life, as far as my adult, the people, you know, Rashid, Janice, those type of folks. That's been basically it. So when I am asked to mentor, I'm very honest and say I can have some conversations, but mentoring has to be consistent.
Yeah.
I think you'll agree, right?
Yeah.
You can't jump in somebody's life and then
Jump
you don't
out, yeah.
jump out. So I'm honest in the beginning. Like, you know, I get a lot of people, can you talk to my son? Can you talk to my nephew? And I say, yeah, I can talk, but I'm
you
not
can't
going to
be
be the
that
guy
consistent,
to
yeah.
follow up. And it's not because I don't want to. It's because inside I really don't have those skills. I'm not called to do that. Yeah. And I think that when people get into a mentoring relationship, they must be careful, because they can do more harm than good, especially for young men who have been abandoned by fathers. And now they meet somebody and they a father figure, and then you just kind of like pull back. And so I tend to just, I have the conversation, but we probably ain't getting together next week to go to Darien Lake. Go ahead.
I want to share with this for just two things. So consistency, I talk about that a lot in the book, is consistency is a key factor, which you mentioned. And then for you, I didn't talk about this in the book, but for you, I think informally, I mean, there's a lot of people who mentor informally. Mm-hmm. And when I came to True Bethel, to be very honest, you were the first African-American male that I seen kind of being a leader, like
Wow.
in this capacity.
Yeah.
So I would watch, and I still do, I watch you and learn from you. And I think, to me, it was like the opportunity of seeing someone who is out in the community, they're on the school board, they're doing things, they're just active. And you look at that and you kind of say, that's something that I want to do, and that inspires you. So I think, you know, it doesn't have to be something like, as far as a formal sit-down mentor, but when you pour into people, and that helps me even with my life, that there's somebody's watching me move and navigate, and gives me the kind of motivation that somebody needs to see someone that looks like me going into boardrooms with people who don't look like me.
Amen.
Like, it's just like that. That's and I appreciate you for being that advocate in this community, and just really, I mean, I get tired watching you. I was like 3 services, 4 services.
I get tired of
He's on
watching
this. I'm
it.
like, okay, trying to keep up with him. I'm like, okay.
Well, you know, COVID has changed a lot. We'll talk about that another day, Brother Chairman. But I appreciate what you're doing. I mean, you know, especially in mentoring other youth when you don't have a child of your own yet. But to reach out and to really be there, so important. The book, Effective Mentoring, obviously, I have read it because that's where the consistency part. I was like, yeah, dude, you just knew. But I appreciate your words. Want you to go give them the website one more time.
www.rlexperience.com.
Rob Lowry, everybody. There's the book right in front of you. Rob, thank you for being here. Your assistant who is with you recorded everything. That means it's going to be on even a bigger platform. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. We're going to switch seats. I'm going to get the little woman over here, and then I'm going to get Rashid back in that seat and probably put him. Can we put him on the mic? We can put him on the mic? Okay, come on, Rashid. And just had to. Same colors. Now, I don't know what colors Rashid working with today. He got on
was
black
dressed
socks,
first.
gray pants.
Well, you know what? I didn't think I was gonna be.
Oh, wait, we got to give you a mic. Here, take this mic. We're going to get you this mic. Can you get it? This one on the phone. Be careful now. Be careful because you're a little clumsy. Oh, that's what I was going to ask Rob, because this American Relief, this over $300 million that's coming to the city. So it's going to come within 2 years, split up in 2 years, coming from the federal government. I was very plain on a meeting yesterday. I know that there have been announcements, or I should say press conferences, and I want to explain on this show how this money has to be spent and why I'm concerned about press conferences that I think will pit people against the council if this is not done right. The money is coming from the federal government, and it could be used for only a very small amount of things. It could be, and Rashid, you gave a great list yesterday. I don't know if you remember any of those items of what this money could be used. And I have it in front of me, but go ahead.
Yeah, it was.
We're gonna get your mic on. Hold on. Keep going. Talk.
It was partly money that can be used to assist in refocusing drain water, so you can make a street that has less water intake. It could be used for crime issues, so that's why.
And that was new, just been added.
That was new, in dealing with the epidemic that we're dealing with. Those are the two main things, and then also weatherization, which is another huge one for us, especially in our communities. Weatherization, it could be utilized for.
So, it could be used for direct household items, for instance, where what was presented for the water bill.
Right.
It could be used for if there was an industry that was affected. All of this is really supposed to be about COVID,
Right.
and what was lost in COVID, and how to get the economy and cities rolling again. Budget items where we may have come up short. The money can be replaced. So there's a lot of items, but it's very narrow. Folks, I just need you to understand this, because at the end of the day, I don't want to be the one, nor the council, to be blamed for, they took away money from us that was promised. Anybody who promises any organization money, they cannot do it without the vote of the Common Council. I want to be clear, and yesterday OJ was on, and I said this about him then, and I'm going to say it about him now. He's a stand-up guy. We've worked well. He was sent because he sits on task force that we're just hearing about, the American Rescue Funds Task Force. It would have been nice to have somebody from the council on there then. And my only point of saying this is because misinformation gets out there. And so I'm going to be clear, and I'm not going to beat around the bush. There was an announcement that Stop the Violence and the other organizations who interrupt violence was going to be given $5 million, right? Mm-hmm. That announcement did not say, we're going to ask the Common Council to vote on it. That announcement said, and on every channel, every single news channel, it said, these groups are getting $5 million. And there was hugs, and there was all that. I'm going to be clear. The council was not included in any of that. We never had a discussion. I know as the president of the council, I didn't even get a text. We find out about this stuff on the news. Now, here's the problem. And we were committed yesterday that this would not happen again. But last Thursday, I was told it would not happen again. At the end of the day, you make an announcement like that. Then, if you send it to the Common Council, and the Common Council says, put the brakes on this. We don't even have the details of a plan. And then if we say, okay, well, we can agree to $1 million. Now it's the Common Council took away $4 million of the $5 million we were promised. You were promised it without process. And you cannot do policy through press conference. It's not even legal. But let me say this. I don't think it's ethical to tell people that you're getting this and you have not even come before the Common Council, not even met with us, because I love Stop the Violence Coalition and SNUG, and we work well together. I'm sure, unless they're mad at me, they'll be here tomorrow for the baby's funeral. They've worked well. This is not about an organization, and I want to be clear.
And I think that we were very clear as well that we wanted to hear from the public. There should have been a comprehensive plan that the council and the public and the administration set forth so that we could do this in the right way, so that we don't have the division, so that we're all looking at opportunities to really get the highest and best use of this money. This is a one-time shot. And again, it just seems as though over and over again, some of us, not the council, remove themselves from that public aspect of it, and that's the shame of it. Because we had a public hearing yesterday, special hearing on the American Rescue money, and we had some great ideas, and we had people who were excited that they had an opportunity to have input. Because so many times when things like this happen, we decide we're going our silo, we'll make our own decision the way we want to make it, and then the heck with you guys. I hope you guys like it, and that's not how it's gonna roll.
And what I don't want to see, and this is why I think we've got to do this right.
Yeah.
I don't want to see where we're giving an organization money, and then 2 years when we don't have this money, that organization then has to put people on the street.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It's got to be sustaining. If we're going to, and again, I want to be clear, I am a supporter of all of the violence interrupter groups. But what I'd love to see is a plan where they're self-sustaining.
Yeah.
When after these 2 years, they don't have to say to 100 people that you've been paying, oh, by the way, we out of money now. So what happens then to crime? If we're depending on this to help curb crime, what happens after 2 years? 2 years? Oh, we don't need them anymore?
And I think this is an opportunity for greater thinking about that, because being a banker, you think about these opportunities and where you get that seed money, but how do you sustain it? So is there other partnerships that you can leverage in order for these organizations to do that? Because I know Wave and Pretty as a Daisy do all these great things with young people. If we get them this money, how can they sustain it? So you say, okay, we took 50 kids this year, but next year, because we're going to lose funding, we're going to do 10. Those are the things that we want to have conversation about. And I think as a collaborative, we can do those things so that it's really something that's measurable and something that just doesn't last from today, but has a lasting impact till tomorrow.
Well, one of the things, as we were talking yesterday, and I mentioned, I'd love to see all year round youth employment, where we are employing especially at-risk youth who are living in poverty, so that, but you got to couple it with more than that. I think about, we can send money to people all day long. You can make it rain for everybody. Here goes 20 more thousand for your household. If I don't know what to do with that money, if I have never, ever been taught how to handle and manage money, I may blow it.
And I was going to say, let's take it a step further. You can employ these young people and give them, but if the parents can't get them to the job, if they, then have to then worry about, am I getting on, I almost said SEPTA, I was getting ready to go back home, NFTA at 11 o'clock. Now the parent, it's a lot. It goes back into the other socio-economic issues that still face our community. So we can do this, but then what's partnered with that as well to make it all make sense?
I think what Mr. Lowry was talking about earlier about the little boy who, when he was locked out of his house, had to sleep on his porch, and all those impacts. Again, having that robust conversation about those things and how this money can assist young people and families is critical. But it can't be just us go have a press conference. Let's have a, oh, we got this money, here you go, and not really thinking about how it impacts our community.
And there could be I told you I'm straight up on the show. I've had conversations with Pastor Giles. Matter of fact, he reached out right after the press conference, and I really did appreciate that. I know that there's been a plan written. My point is we haven't seen it, nor does the council have anything formally before it for the $5 million. I want to be clear. The council goes into recess in August. What I don't want is for something to happen out there, and then the people who are mad that we don't have anything. Oh, we could have had this group on the street, and the council delayed it. No, we don't have anything in front of us. And if something comes before us tomorrow, it still has to go to committee. It still has to be vetted out, which means more than likely the earliest that we can I don't want to have conversations piecemeal. I don't want to talk about, oh, we're going to give this organization $5 million. Then somebody else has a conversation at the coffee shop and oh, we're going to give you $1 million. Let's do a press conference tomorrow. And that's insane. And it's an insane way to spend this money when it needs to have the greatest impact that we can have. And it cannot be, and I said this yesterday, we can't have Christmas in July. This ain't Christmas in July, or else Rob ought to come and say, give me $1 million, and somebody else ought to come. That's not, we have to have a plan that to me should be earth-shattering and change the face of poverty. Now, understand, this is really for COVID-related stuff. So, I mean, we've had this conversation about getting money and not having, nobody knowing.
Some of when you talk about year-round youth employment, my first job was for summer youth. I was 14, and I worked for this place called Prevention Focus. And I would love to see programs like that, because at 14, they taught me what I should do with money. They taught me how to make a resume, how to make a cover page, how to type. They taught me life skills at 14 years old. So I was able to work at 15. I was able to give my resume. I had a job at 17, but my mother had the means to take me. But I got better job opportunities because of what I learned that entire summer, that they just poured into us, and that's it. We didn't know. It was like homework, and so for a 14-year-old, it's like, I just got out of school, but I learned real life skills.
And that's what I think is important, if there was a program where we're not just giving kids money, but we're also, and you do that with your summer youth, or you have in the past, where you have also trained them so they didn't just work. But, I'm probably putting the ideas in the chairman's head. Everybody else in line,
They taught me how to budget, all of those things. And they brought people in, like Rob, to talk to us about what to do. Do you want to go to college? If you don't want to go to college, what do you love? And so I think those types of programs where they're not just, and those are good too, to earn money and picking up the trash.
And I think they should earn money. They should have to earn it, but there should also be a learning component to it, so that now they're learning. And because when we talk about pulling people out of poverty, throwing money at poverty is not going to pull people out of poverty.
Because poverty is also a mindset.
Just throwing some money and going, here's some more money, it's not. If I grew up and I've never had good credit, if I grew up and I've never seen anybody take care of their bills, do all of that, then at the end of the day, when I get money, I'm going to do what I've seen other people do.
Especially when your credit has been bad since you were 5.
Absolutely. Am I going to go out and pay off my bills that are pending? Probably not. And I'm talking generally of what I've seen people and how we've seen people spend and do. And so my fear is those in Washington who I really believe mean well. I'm going to tell you, I do. But I think that sometimes those in Washington are so disconnected from poverty that they don't understand that just giving money is not, like someone said to me yesterday, well, this money is going to lift up the poor out of poverty. And I'm thinking, it takes more than giving me $20,000. If I've never had a big lump of money in my life, at the end of the day, I'm not going to know what to do with it. I'm not going to go and pay off my old phone bill and do this and put $10,000 away. I'm partying. I'm buying stuff. I'm self-medicating with my money.
And people have to realize, at some point, somebody's going to have to pay it back.
The people paying it back are sitting in the studio. These young people sitting in the studio are going to be the ones that got to pay back $1 trillion. I'm not saying we don't need it. because we need infrastructure. The fruit belt, where all of these sinkholes are in these cities, we need to stop patching it. A portion of that money needs to go up under these streets and fix so that we don't have a city that's sinking, like in the fruit belt, that's built on sand, basically. Do you know that's the problem over there? It's built on sand. And so as the infrastructure collapses that is holding up homes and buildings, the streets just sink and they keep going down. And all we have had the money for is to patch it. Now we should have the money to fix it.
And when you talk about poverty, this American Rescue was supposed to be a component of assisting with that. And as I've been doing my research, 26%, we were at 26.1% poverty rate in 1980. We're at 31.1% here in 2021. That number has not changed, although we've had billions of dollars come through the city of Buffalo. What have we done? Why is poverty still growing and not decreasing? And I'm thinking about, and shout out to my cousin Emily Robertson. She's now the president of the president of the council at Kenfield Langfield. And I said that because they have 700 families there. I know.
Hold on, do you want to try
Emily,
it again?
The tenant council at the
Kenfield
Kenfield
Langfield.
They don't know nothing about projects.
Don't tell me. But I said that because she said something about representing her residents. And I said, here we get all this money, and those who are affected by poverty, we go away from them. These numbers that we're talking about really can't really help them, other than if there's lead in that development, we can use some of that money to deal with the lead. But there should be money for services and programs that are sustainable to bring people out of poverty. If we're talking about poverty and measuring the impact of it, those 700 families, we should be looking at every year. How many families have moved out and to own their own home? There are measurements that should be in place, but these dollars have not done that. So hopefully the next infrastructure bill that's supposed to be coming forth will assist in that. But when we talk about poverty, you know, Sam Radford talks about it, this poverty that's really isolated in areas of the 14215 and those things. And what do we do to address that directly instead of just putting a program out saying, okay, here's a $5 million, y'all go for it. But it really is not sustainable and it doesn't really impact poverty.
Arlie Daniels on Facebook says, for the first time in years, we can see a balance in checks with the council, not a rubber stamp. You guys are absolutely right. There needs to be a comprehensive, workable plan. Marie Collins is cheerleading out here. Come on, speak that truth. No Christmas in July. Veronica Ivy says, I was a part of Yo Buffalo that did similar things. It was a great program that taught me a lot. And I was a part of DECA. And this is why, and I can't wait till the youth programs here at church start back up, and a part of St. Luke. Let me give St. Luke credit.
Shout out.
At our church, we learned life skills, and we learned them, like Rob said, by watching the people around us. They were professionals. My grandmother, God rest her soul, my grandmother had a beeper when beepers first came out for her job. And she wasn't a doctor or a lawyer. She was the head of housekeeping. Look here, I'm with Millard Fillmore, and so she had employees. She and I was proud. I didn't care whether she was supervising people with a mop. She was a supervisor. So I learned that. I learned those skills. And then DECA, which was Distributive Education Clubs of America, at school. And I learned public speaking. I mean, I already had a little of it naturally, but I learned debate. I learned how to fill out a job application.
What school was that?
Bennett High, the greatest school.
Gosh.
The greatest school.
Oh, my gosh.
The greatest high school ever. You cannot duplicate Bennett High, okay?
Did you have Miss Whitman at that time? Was that Miss Whitman?
Miss Whitman wasn't principal in the 80s. I ended up, long story.
But it was interesting you said that, because I was actually in a similar, I think it was called a similar thing, DECA, but it was more about business. And
Yeah,
marketing.
that's DECA,
Yeah.
yes.
So I actually won my state competition and competed nationally through DECA in Salt Lake City, like 3 years after the Olympics.
Wow.
And my category was travel and tourism.
That was DECA.
Yep.
I was the manager of the bookstore.
Yep,
I told you, I wore a suit to school sometimes. I took a briefcase every day. My books were in a briefcase, like a hard
Mr.
briefcase.
Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
This dude got on
And
white
I
sneakers
wore
and black socks talking about
pants.
Mr. Rogers. I wish we had a real cameraman, like if we could zoom, because I would zoom in on those sneakers.
Those
Nice.
don't be
I
What?
try to be so nice when it comes to Rashid.
Does you because you're so like shady.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, zoom. Ah, look at the socks. Black
Look at the
socks.
sneakers though.
Mark.
Look at the sneakers though.
Mark, really?
Hey. Oh, thanks, Mark. Oh, you see the
Y'all
lip?
are shady. Y'all
Look
are
at the
so
lip.
shady.
You are shameful.
Thanks, Mark.
You are
Shady.
Thanks for
shameful.
good cameras.
This is shady.
I'm going
Thank-
live.
thank
after
you,
I don't
trustees.
support
this. On
this.
Facebook Live.
Now, before we, oh Lord, don't do that again. Oh Lord,
Hey, he signs my
oh
checks. I
Lord,
don't know what y'all doing. He signs my check.
he said he gonna go Facebook Live. I said, oh Lord,
I'm ready.
oh Lord.
I watched it last night and this
So
morning.
before we go to what happened yesterday, I want to thank True Bethel and our friends for overwhelming support for baby Shaquille. I think I'm saying it right, Shaquille. And I want to be clear because, I know rumors will be out there, oh, the funeral was already paid for. We're aware of that the crime victims have stepped in, but True Bethel just wanted to bless the parents. And I'm not going to say on the air the amount, but I could say, again, True Bethel came through. And when the chairman texted me Sunday after church and told me the amount, I was like, I must have read that wrong. And I called back, and he confirmed that amount. And so I just want people to know that when I say we're going to give every dime to that person, yesterday I delivered to the parents, delivered to mom, the check from the church to the parents. And I just want to thank people because even after Sunday, people were coming to the church, dropping off money for the baby. And so that's why I say I love pastoring True Bethel. I don't love pastoring. I don't want to pastor another church. I ain't that guy like trying to search for a different situation. I'm so thankful that when I even mentioned it, people just started getting up from the congregation. And it reminded me of what our true mission is. I mean, COVID, it's like God almost gave us a little breather. And then now I have members who are like, okay, can I do this and can I do that? And so that's a segue to say that we know that people have been out of school for years. School is going to start back up. So we are going to do our new sneaker or gently used sneaker drive starting on next Sunday. People can bring in, and I'm just asking, don't bring something you wouldn't wear. And if you're out and about and you have little extra funds and you see a pair of sneakers on sale, pick them up and bring them by. Every sneaker, we're going to put it on the mobile bus. We're going to go to some of the hardest hit areas for poverty before school starts. And you know how we do? We give it away. And the last time we did this, it changed the way I do ministry in that I did not do any outside engagements for a year. And I didn't do them because I recognized our calling here at True Bethel. This isn't everybody's calling. Is to help those in need. Is to help the hurting. Is to be there. When the baby's parents, both dad and mom, I talked to them and they wanted their baby buried out of here. To me, that is an honor for someone to ask you to do a service of when they're hurting the most than they probably have in their life. And so I'm encouraging people. We want to make sure, our food pantry is open right now to 2 o'clock. You can drive through. You don't even have to get out of your car. It's in the back of the church. It's open at 2 o'clock. It reminded me of what our mission was. So I want to thank Ashley Jones, who called and said this is what she wanted to do. And others, she's going to need a team, but she'll lead it. We want to make sure that when those children go to school, and I know sneakers are not the most important thing, but let's be honest, there is pressure that children have to go through. And I just don't want to see them have to go through that pressure if we can help. And if we can help, I think the last time we helped over 200 children. I want to do that again.
Yeah, and I do my book bag giveaway every single year. And this year we're probably going to give away between 400 to 700 book bags because we know that everybody doesn't have the ability to purchase the supplies.
Yeah.
So whatever you can do to help them be able to transition so that they can be focused on school and not on, I can't get the paper, I can't get a pencil, it's helpful. And if they can have sneakers to make them feel good about themselves,
Yeah.
it's part of it. It's part and parcel of, I'm going to school and I'm feeling good because I have a new pair of sneakers on my
Absolutely.
feet.
Absolutely. I mean, we probably have did we give away Jamie's sneakers? Or we still have the
No,
ones
there's
that,
still some in
because
mine.
my son's now she can wear his 7s.
Not no more.
But
It's
he's
over.
his
He's like
foot is
growing
longer
out of.
than
He's
mine.
at a 10 now.
Oh,
So now when he grows out of sneakers, I can't just.
Yeah, and I
keep
can't wear them. I got some, but he doesn't tear up a sneaker. I want to make sure those sneakers are on the feet of children who need them. And even with stimulus money and people getting checks, people are still struggling, and I want to be reminded of that. Speaking of, no, I won't segue that way. So yesterday morning, my phone is buzzing off the hook.
7:42 a.m.
Bzz, bzz. Now, I usually have it on Do Not Disturb. I didn't put it on Do Not Disturb. Bzz. I'm not going to say the content when I answered the phone, but I was like, what? What? Like, Rashid what? What about Rashid? Rashid is on live. And I didn't go to it. I continued doing what I was going to do. Tell us about yesterday.
Well, I'm not.
And you got on twice.
I'm not going to use the word I used when I did it.
I heard you were saying stuff like, I'm from, what is it? I'm from CP. I still have not
I'm
watched
from
the
Central
video.
Park. I am. I mean,
Tell us
I
what
am I
pushed
am.
you over the edge.
But it just when yesterday, well, 2 days ago, when Steve Brown interviewed me regarding School Zone camera, and the only camera that was left on out of the 20 was in a university district in front of a daycare that is not a school. It's always been a source of contention. So I heard Steve Brown say, well, he met with the mayor, and he said the mayor said to him, well, if Wyatt sends a resolution or he sends me a letter, he will turn it off immediately. And I was stunned that he said that. So Steve Brown says to me, and I didn't know what to say. I mean, that was a real pause. I'm sitting here like, did he say I had to send him a letter on top of the legislation that we passed saying that the camera should coming down? So I slept on that. And
Now, this is the wild part, because we talked about it the night before.
yeah,
And you didn't like it,
no.
but you weren't at that level. What
Well,
happened?
What happened is when I kept thinking about sincerely the people who couldn't afford $50 fine. We got 19 cameras down and this one is left. And it's like everything else we had to deal with. COVID, we couldn't get vaccinations in the 14215. We couldn't get testing in the 14215. Every freaking thing that affects poor people, we gotta fight for, and you're gonna continue to give us tickets in the midst of this all? So I woke up on fire, and that's what brought me forth. So what for these folks who thought that it was Wyatt trying to be reelected, I get reelected every day because I go out there and do my freaking job for the people. So if they reelect me, that's good, but I'm doing it for them. This is not no grandstanding, because most people who know me, and many of you who called and said, asked me if I was okay because they saw it, because I don't act that way. But when it comes to what my responsibility in representing the people, I'm going to go hard like I go for my own family, because these folks are my family. They've entrusted me to respond for them.
Look at
And
the
so
screen.
I'm going to continue to do what I have to do for them. This is not about a re-election. This is about standing up for people who feel like they've been marginalized over and over again. So that's why I did it. So
Don't roll the whole clip. Just
I'm skipping through.
you skip it
But
through.
there's no audio. It's
That was you yesterday. Now, Rashid, we've been around each other since we were teens.
yes, sir.
I've only seen you at that level on the basketball court. When this dude plays basketball, you seen him play
I've
basketball?
played him.
He is totally different. He is totally different.
yeah.
You're very when you want to win something, that's the passion. So other people haven't seen it. I have, but yesterday was a different level. And I want to say this because, you and I have a little cold, and so I can at times be too calm. Rashid can bring it up a notch, and I always try to catch his eye. So if we're in chamber, I'll catch his eye, because I want to make sure that people understand what you're saying, that we're statesmen more than activists, so that we get stuff done. And in politics, it takes more than one. But yesterday, I think that it was just from your heart. I really do.
And a lot of it comes from you, my friend, and what we've done over the years. And I was having at that level because you had that passion and you could bring it forth. I've developed that, and I've developed it because I see what we've had to struggle through. And, this was just that tipping point. Because, again, this whole process of these cameras have been something that we would have never thought. People continue to ask for those things that we've been asking for even prior to, as far as speed humps and crosswalks and those things. And so this is about our kids. And we do want to make certain that on September 1, when kids start back to school, that all those non-punitive measures are in place. Because if this is for real, then we should be doing it. And especially when we're talking about poor people, people who feel marginalized. So yesterday was just an opportunity.
But I want to commend you that once the mayor cut off the camera, what did you do? And not a lot of people are talking about that one. They're talking about your viral video, but you went back.
Well, I went and I thanked him. And like I said during my video to those budding activists, we don't have to talk about people and make it personal. Let's just talk about the facts. I had my legislation. I knew the law. And all I wanted was this to happen, and it happened. And so instead of me going in and talking about anything further, I said, thank you, Mayor.
But to me, that showed the level of commitment to the people. Yeah. You got what you wanted. You don't have to keep going. You ain't got to go back. Now I got it done. See, you just went back and said thank you.
Yeah.
Carolyn Lane says, thank you, Councilman, for our district and for the people. Kamal says, always treated like less than. Carolyn, he thanked Mr. Brown. And there's a lot more comments that have already gone up on the stream. But I thought that was the gentleman thing to do, the right thing to do. We got it done. Now let's talk about, we talked about this last night, because there was no line in the budget for the cameras, and money has been being collected since July 1st in the new budget. You've written a resolution. I've asked to join you on that resolution, and that's for what?
And that's to refund every single penny to anyone who got a ticket after we've passed the legislation would have taken place on June 15th. So anyone, I already said to folks, if you gotten a ticket after June 15th, contest it. But myself and Council President, and I'm sure my colleagues who supported us in getting those cameras down will support this. And I'm not going to speak for them, but we all agreed that people should get that money back, and it shouldn't go into the pockets of the city. So we've put that forth. That'll come before the council on this coming Tuesday.
Yes.
And so we're pushing forth to make certain that everyone is made whole, because we passed legislation that said those cameras were done and no one should have got a ticket after that.
Arlie Daniel says on Facebook, you're doing a great job in the University District, Brother Rashid, and I think sometime we have to stand on principle and air things out. And people should know it's not personal. Herm Cook says, thanks for being community voice. Ina, not just commitment, but he's in capital letters, grown man, not a child. And that's what I think is important. And I want to be clear. When we exercise our rights as council people, and folk got to understand out there, because a lot of times people think we work for the mayor or we have to report to the mayor. Somebody was talking about one of our clerks yesterday. There was a list that we sent down to security for some people who were coming up. And one of the security guards in City Hall said, well, this isn't signed off by the mayor. And she said, that's because we don't work for the mayor. We're an independent branch. And where people may have thought it was rubber stamp in the past, it was just a different relationship. And they were just different items. And I still, people have got to get out of their head that if we don't agree on policy, that we got a problem. That's not it. Right. We don't agree on policy because we're individuals who at times are not going to agree, but that's the checks and balances. So people who might not know, let me give you a quick civics lesson. There are 3 branches of government independent for the city of Buffalo. There is the administrative branch, which is the mayor, and under the mayor are the fire truck, is the fire, police, sanitation, all those things. So when you call us, we have to then reach over into the other arm of government to get things done, right? Then there is the Common Council, which is really the legislative branch. So our job is really about legislation, is about policy. But of course, every Common Council member does more than that. And then there's the controller, which basically is the one who writes the checks and watches the money. We don't work for the controller. The controller is elected by the people. We're elected by the people. The mayor is elected by the people. And that's what it is. So when we have a difference of opinion, it doesn't mean we're against the mayor. It means we're doing our job. And when we decided, and let's be transparent, we voted for the cameras in the beginning.
Yes, you
I think, was it unanimous?
I think it was.
I think it was unanimous. We voted and really thought it would be a good thing until once you got in the car and you had to go 15 miles an hour and you go like, oh, wait. And we tried to change those things. That didn't work. We then sent in the resolution that was, had a veto proof. We were veto proof then, right? It was rejected. We could have returned it. But we decided to cooperate. That just still didn't work. And people were still upset. So we did what the people asked. And you led the charge. There were 6 votes, I believe? 6 votes to take down the camera. And that was it. Now, the argument of the date that the document said immediately that the cameras had to come down, basically. And then there was a date of September 1st. I wouldn't care if there was a date of September 3rd. At the end of the day, the first date is the date that matters, which is immediately. Right. So this misinterpretation and all this, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm really okay with everything that happened. I'm okay with speaking up about this, about the money, all of it. It's our job.
Because the September 1 date was simply the date that we wanted to make sure that everything was in place.
Absolutely.
Because there was a contract that we have to notify the vendor 60 days before our termination.
Absolutely.
So that they can come get their equipment.
Yep.
So no one ever imagined that you would be trying to give tickets in the summer when school is out.
What was your comment?
That's what I was getting ready to say. The whole point about it was stop ticking immediately.
Yes.
And by September 1st,
Have everything
the
down.
means are in place so we can go back into the new school year.
Right.
Hobson's, the Dr. Dry Cleaning, 874 East Delavan. It's 874 East Delavan. You got to go there. You want it done right? I was going to try to rhyme, but I didn't have another word. You want to go you want to go right?
Don't
Get
do
your
it.
clothes
Don't
tight.
do it. Don't do it.
They will clean them with all their might,
Don't do it, Mr. Rogers.
and you won't have to fight. Right. Hobson's, the Doctor of Dry Cleaning. Dr. Hobson is the one who got me on the air.
East Delavan and Wyoming.
Mrs. Hobson is the one who's keeping me on the air. Hobson's, the Doctor of Dry
Take
Cleaning.
those loafers over there. And get them.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. 347 Peckham, 2528 Bailey, 1275 Sycamore. In your hour of need, it's Brian K. Lewis. And they do, by the way, no, not Brian, Hobson's. They will do these shoes.
Yeah.
They also clean up those sneakers. Because it look like you've been cutting some grass.
That was that
Wow.
Facebook Live.
You know
You
what?
should never start ribbing on me. I didn't start ribbing. He started
you
ribbing.
did start. You started with that.
No, I didn't, babe. He came in and said something about my shoes. When I said Mr. Rogers, he said something about my shoes.
Yes, but you said you talked about his shoes.
And then
I know.
And then you went to my socks.
So
Yeah.
you got to
And then
be
you did a close-up on my
nice.
socks.
Leola said you usually wear the white socks.
Aw,
Who said that? Leona, no, she didn't. No, she didn't.
be nice.
She know
Play
I don't
nice.
wear socks.
Okay, I'm done. I mean, we got all the serious stuff out of the way. So
it's time to
now,
go now.
we can laugh a little bit.
A little bit.
I mean, shucks. Ina says, have Mark call me after the show. She got information about a scam going on with Publishers Clearinghouse.
Oh, gosh. We ain't getting the money no more? Is that fake money? What's going on?
Kamal said, does the company get to keep a portion? I'm not sure. Oh, if you're talking about Speedcam, yeah, that was, the company got a portion of every ticket.
Yeah.
Wow.
But he's saying, do they get to keep it if we get refunded?
Probably.
Oh, that's a good point. I don't know. At the end of the day, the people, I don't care where it comes from. At the end of the day, the legislation said to stop ticketing immediately, and those people should get their money back.
The whole 50.
They should get the whole 50 because they should not have been ticketed.
Yes, yes. So anyway, we got to get ready to go. Don't forget, food pantry is open till 2:00. Clothing pantry on Wednesday, same hours. We're gonna start the sneaker drive next Sunday. So just get them ready this Sunday, and then the following Sunday. Oh, you got bad light on me. What's going on? You don't have direct light. Look at me. I look peaked.
You look what?
Peaked.
What's that?
Look it up. Look at his lighting. It's horrible.
Well, I tried to order more,
Sneak-
but we get ready to leave. So
Sneaker drive next week. Until next week, power to the people.